Hi, this is DL with Tranquil Living, and this is the third of a series of videos on using the wall for your yoga practice, which helps with stability and strength. So today we're going to start with our backs against the wall in a sitting position. So I have a blanket here that I'm just going to put right next to the wall. And if you can sit in easy pose, that's fine. If you need to bend the legs and just have your hands on your thighs, that's fine too. You could also just have one leg bent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the back of my pelvis right against the wall. And from here, there's a little bit of space between my lower back and the wall where the natural arch is. And then my middle back, I can feel right against the wall, maybe all the way up, past right about where the wing bones are. And then I start to feel the curving, the slow curve of the neck start and feel the distance of the neck away from the wall. And then the back of my head, I can feel on the wall. So what we're going to do is we're going to play with and articulate through the spine and use the wall kind of like it's a massage bed that we're laying upon. And we're going to let the movement of the spine provide feedback as we articulate against the wall. So I'm just articulating the back, rounding. It's kind of like doing cat-cow. But now we're doing it against the wall so you can feel all of the tissue of the back body, or at least parts of it, pressing into and against the wall. The curves change and maybe even the head comes away from the wall. Just notice whatever you notice as you press in and move up and down the spine. And really settle in so that you can relax and you can breathe and enjoy that sensation. I lived in Asheville, North Carolina. There used to be, and I know they were all over the United States. I don't know if they were elsewhere, but there were places that had these Megan massage beds. And you could go for free, and sit on one of these beds and get a massage. And that's exactly what this reminds me of. And it's probably of benefit that I have that in my memory because it does help. It does help me do this in a way that is more like receiving a massage as opposed to me doing something. But the other thing is that this is actually quite active. I'm really feeling my core here, especially with my lower back pressed into the wall. I'm feeling all this tissue at the front of the body here, moving back and in and up. And then as I come into that middle back area, the chest starts to open forward. And so we'll just spend a few more minutes here running up and down the spine, just noticing where you might feel maybe some jaggedness instead of smooth movement. Maybe something feels like it's a little less flexible. Are you noticing tilting of the pelvis as you move? And if you had only one leg bent, you might want to switch legs halfway in between because it might alter your experience somewhat So this is the kind of yoga that a lot of people don't have patience for. You know, they just want to do the physical stuff. But this is the informing yoga. This is what helps us understand our bodies and be aware of more of our bodies as we go about more vigorous yoga practices. And it's totally worth it to take the time. It's also just, it's very centering. You might also want to try both legs if you had just one leg, because that also will change the leverage you have. And feel free to move away from the wall in some exploration of how that may change your experience or provide new information. And then you can stop the articulation of the spine. Just allow your head to turn right to left. And just press gently back in towards the wall as you roll the head. So I've done this in several videos, this rolling of the head, quite heavy. And now we're just doing it with the wall instead of the floor. And feel free to hold anywhere. Good, and then on last time, you'll just bring your head back forward. Take a deep breath and release. Okay, so we're going to do some standing poses with the wall, but before we do that, I'm going to change my orientation so that my feet are against the wall, so I have to use a different portion of the wall for that. Now, as you know from the other videos, I have these weird pipes here that kind of get in the way, so I'm going to use my blocks, but you don't have to have blocks if you have a flat wall. So what I'd like you to do is place one foot directly into the wall. Feel the whole surface area of the foot. The other foot will come to the inner thigh, somewhere along the leg, anywhere but right on the knee. And then we're going to use the leverage of the hand on the knee to turn towards the extended leg. Now you might have to move yourself so that you really feel connected into the wall here, a little closer to the wall. Once you're there, you're just going to work your hands somewhere down along the leg until you feel a nice comfortable sensation. So just notice where you feel it. You might feel it more in your legs. You might feel it where I feel it, which is right in the side of the back. And remember that it's not about the shape that we're taking so much as it is the sensation in your body. So don't feel like you have to, do the head to knee thing unless that's comfortable. And then let's take the arm out and twist the body open to the knee now to bring that arm overhead. And again, you're pushing into that block. It's reverberating up through the whole leg. And it's helping me to open the body forward, the upper body. And then open that arm, and we'll just take a moment and then switch sides. Okay, so plugging the other foot into the wall and bending the other leg, bringing that foot somewhere along the inner thigh or along the shin or calf. And then adjusting yourself so that you have the leverage against the wall a little better, so you're not too far away that you can't feel the whole foot. And then turning, using this knee to help you turn towards the extended leg, and then working your hands down. I have to be really careful in this position because I have some hypermobility in the sacrum area, and so if I can easily overdo this and end up with sacral issues. So I'm mentioning that in case any of you also have similar problems. You just really want to make sure that you are on the super comfortable side of the stretch. Okay, now I'm going to open up the body. So here I'm going to plug in again, just kind of push into the block to help open the upper body, twisting from the middle back, and then bringing that arm overhead or up straight toward the ceiling. Breathing in full deep breaths. As you release, you might be able to come in a little deeper, but again, just be really aware of how the back feels, whether or not you're opening. And so, this isn't a static pose for me. I'm actually really working the hand against the inside of the leg, and that's also helping me turn the upper body. Good, and release. So come back into a staff pose with both feet plugged in. Okay, and then release. And I have to switch my orientation around again. If you have blocks or something like a block, you might want to have it handy for this next set. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a half moon pose. So you're going to stand with one foot close to the wall, but not, you don't want to be necessarily right against the wall with the whole side of the body. I would leave maybe a foot of distance. And you can start to just play with having the weight on the front foot. So really spread your toes wide, shift your weight. We're just rocking here and then leaning back onto that back leg and then onto the front leg and feeling that jettison from the back leg to the front leg. And stand up really nice and tall on that front leg. And as you do, use your breath to pull the tissue upward as you move forward. So you are becoming quite light through the upper body at the same time as you are grounding and putting your weight in to the front leg. And then once you feel as though you can stand right up on your leg and over and tall, then you can start to tip the upper body forward and the back leg up. And maybe this is enough for you, but I want you to feel free here to use the wall to lean into. And that includes the back leg. You can anchor the back leg into the wall. It's kind of like splat. And then if you need a block, so let me grab and have one handy there. So always, if you come out of the pose, you move, shift, take the time to get back into it in the way that you approached it the first time. So once you start to lean forward, you can have that block handy, and that will bring the floor up a little closer to you so you can be comfortable here against the wall. And just breathe here and feel. Notice if you were to start to pull yourself away from the support of the wall, what would have to engage in the body? Can you find just one maybe point of contact with the wall, maybe the heel, or maybe the back of the hip, or perhaps just the fingers of the hand on the floor of the block, maybe the top arm, perhaps the back of the head, though that is quite a bit harder because, well, for me anyway, it took a lot more work to balance on the one point of the head. So you can take some time to explore here this position. And because you have the wall here, you're not so fatigued from holding it and that you can't explore and be a little more curious before coming out of it again. So it buys you more time, and again, just be really aware of what's working. And then to come out, let's just round everything back in towards the center of the body. So we're kind of starting to curl inward, in. In a little ball. And then let's do a forward fold turning towards the wall. So the heels will be against the wall. Your hands might be a little further forward, almost a down dog for the hands, but you're right up on your legs. So feel the whole back surface of the legs against the wall, but perhaps a little more weight on the toes than the heels. And use the hands or the fingertips to push gently back into the wall so you can feel the whole surface of the back thigh, or as much as possible, and the back of the pelvis. And lengthening from the tailbone through the crown of the head, just like in down dog. And then you can bend the legs, and they could be bent anyway, depending on how deep your forward fold is. We'll come around to the other side, and then we will roll up. Now, if you need to flat back up, please do so. Just take care of yourself and know what your needs are. Okay, so we'll switch now to the other side. So I'm going to move the block. Again, you're standing some distance from the wall, maybe the size of your foot from the wall, maybe a little less or a little more, you decide. And then you're just going to shift your weight from the back leg, jettison forward, and just feel right up tall on that leg. Feel your center of gravity. Use your breath to lift all the tissues of the mid-core area up. And then once you're ready, you can start to tip your body forward. Maybe pausing just here, if that's enough for you, and then just find the wall and splat yourself against it. Otherwise, you can go further down. Now, I'm in a corner, which is really, really nice. And I know not everyone can set up this way. But if you are at a corner, you can actually anchor that back leg against the corner. And that's going to provide a whole nother world of support that's like, wow. So feel free to do that as well, if you have that option. So once again, just finding the different points that you can anchor into against the wall. Maybe a shoulder blade, maybe the buttocks, maybe the upper arm or hand, back of head. And then just start to explore what it's like to pull away from those different parts and what has to engage. So we're reaching in like every direction that surrounds the body here. So really feel that full body extension and the tension that is created in the body, because that's part of your support. Deep breath. And then we'll release, coming in towards the center, curling everything, rounding, 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 until we come into a little ball. Good, and from here, what we'll do is come into a cobbler's pose with the back against the wall. So use the support of the wall for your back with the feet as close to the body as is comfortable for you. They may be quite far out, that's fine. It doesn't matter, it's what's comfortable. Now just notice how the back is orienting to the ground. You might have to shift yourself so that you feel more of the back of the pelvis on the wall. And this might be quite enough, especially now that we have that leverage from the wall. You might have your legs quite a bit closer than you normally would if you were away from the wall, and this might be enough of a stretch. So we'll stay here just for a few moments of quiet meditation. Find what you can release into the wall as you're here. You know, the back of the head can rest. The shoulders can rest. The mid-back can rest. I still have my blocks handy, and I'm noticing that as my legs open, they feel like they're hanging a little bit, so I'm going to use the blocks to make that more comfortable for myself. I highly suggest you try this just to see what it's like to have some support under your knees. And of course, if you would like to hold your feet and round forward, you're welcome to do that. And just notice as you do how the back kind of peels away from and changes its orientation with the wall, just as we did when we were starting the practice. Good. Okay, we've got one more pose and then we're into Shavasana. So go ahead and move your blocks off to the side. Now, this next one, you're going to have to be really careful that your feet don't slip, either on the mat or on the wall. What we're going to be doing is climbing up the wall with the feet. So the hands are in an all fours position, and you will probably have to kind of get closer or further to the wall depending on how long your legs are. What you're going to do is you're going to begin to walk the legs up the wall until you're in a 90 degree angle with the legs. And I don't know if you heard that, but the whole carpet complex started to move forward. So that's what you have to be careful of when you're in this position. So I'm just going to reorient. Now this places a lot of weight on the hands, but rather than lock the elbows, think about having some responsiveness through the elbows. Same with the shoulders. We don't want to necessarily lock hard through the shoulders, but allow them to be responsive and have some flexibility so that that you can respond if you need to come down or change your orientation. Really plug into the wall with the feet as best you can. This is really working the core, and it's also that upper body strength. Come down gently and easily, releasing back to the knees, and we'll go into a child's pose. And reaching the hands away from you. Being heavy through the tailbone back towards the heels. And rounding up. And we'll come into an angle. So come into Shavasana. On your back. Take your time if you want to have your knees bent for a while before you extend your legs. And release any holding, any remaining contraction and gripping in the body. Let all the energy that you've created move around and through the body. There is something so wonderful about using the wall and how it brings all of the bones together. You know, yoga for so long and according to so many has been about our flexibility and stretching and extending out and beyond and pulling things apart. And the wall really helps us bring and reminds us to bring everything together also. That we need both those counter movements, the extension as well as the contraction. They balance each other. So please feel free to stay longer in Shavasana if you like and just ignore what I have to say here. Otherwise, please bring one knee into your chest. And extend that leg back long. Bring the other knee into your chest. And then both knees in. You can rock on your spine or your back a little bit, left to right or up and down. And if you're rocking, feel free to rock yourself up. If you are simply rocking side to side, feel free to drop off to one side. Take a moment there before pushing yourself to a seated position. Placing the hands together at the heart, feeling that pressure of left to right, just as if each hand were a wall that the other hand was pressing into. Let's do 3 deep breaths and we'll close with an Om. Breathing in to tone out. Om. Thank you for joining me. Have a tranquil day.